Hello and welcome to the Grid Irn-Cru podcast, a Scottish NFL podcast brought to you by NFL fanatics or something like that. I know Keith's got to shoot me for that intro, and you get the gist of it. So I'm Danny McVeigh, and I'm in the host chair. Not usually my usual seat. I'm usually in the other side talking crap with the rest of them, but tonight I am taking over the reins. And I am not alone. I am joined by two of our finest and regular contributors to the podcast. We have first up Eagles fan Kev. How are you, mate?
I'm great, Danny. The Birds are back to winning ways, so all is right with the world. And yeah, looking forward to chatting.
Yeah, that was an impressive victory. I'm sure we're going to touch on that in a wee bit more. How about you, Mikey? How's life treating you, my man?
Life's good. I never had the doom and gloom on Monday of a weekend loss because we were on the bye. So, like I said last week, I thought it was going to be a nice, relaxing weekend. It was good games all around. So, yeah, I was quite happy with it. So, yeah, glad to be back.
There's something nice about your team being on a bye in it. You can just actually sit back and relax and enjoy watching it and just not have that, just biting your fingernails to the bone and just, worrying about what's going to happen and being able to enjoy Red Zone or something like that, carefree.
Well, it was even better at the weekend because a certain Kev lost in fantasy and a certain me won. So I climbed to the top of the mountain at the weekend. So I was delighted. I don't know how, but I'm there.
I was just about to say, even when your team's on a bye, fantasy somehow finds a way to ruin your weekend all the same, doesn't it?
Correct, you can't have all good things, right? You've got to, you've got to have a wee bit of doom and gloom in your life. That's what it's like to be Scottish, and we've got to be miserable bastards at some point. We can't be happy. Right, lads, let's crack on because we've got loads of stuff to cover. I can't believe it. We're at week 7 already. That's in the books. We're looking forward to week 8 as well. So what we'll do first is let's touch on some of the news that's kind of come up after the weekend. A couple of big things. Looking your direction here, Kev, where there is quite a I was going to say a famous name, but a name that you're quite familiar with. Brandon Graham is coming out of retirement to re-sign with your Beagles. What do you what do you think of that signing?
Absolutely delighted with it, to be honest. We have been struggling a little bit on defence. Maybe not so much this weekend, but in previous weeks. We were talking last week about how somebody was going to have to pick up the slack. And I said at the time, I don't think it's going to be MD in the building. I think we're going to try and bring somebody in. And I'm absolutely over the moon. We've got an absolute legend coming back. He's 2 Super Bowls with the Eagles. And yeah, I think if he didn't feel like he could contribute at a high level, if he didn't think there was a chance of going and getting that 3rd ring, then I don't think he would have come back. So yeah, really, really good piece of business, I think.
What do you think, Mikey? Then I'll jump to you for your input in this one. Do you think he's going to how physically ready is he going to be? He's not exactly a young pup anymore. He's not done his training camp and he's missed 6 weeks. Is he?
The big question you've got with it, right, and we touched on this last week, Kev, with your man retiring last week, Zadarius, wasn't it? His name, after I sang his praise last week, I forgot his name there. We touched on it last week about he hadn't really contributed. So Brandon Graham coming back as a name, it's great. We've all seen on teams where maybe there's a little bit of direction. I think it's a great locker room move. I think it's great for that element. Physically, we'll have to obviously see how he is and where he's sitting, because like you said, he's obviously in later years. But I mean, if you're talking the average defense on a winning team is getting 50 plays a game, if he's coming on and he's able to do 10, 15 plays and kick that in slowly, that's a benefit. It's like a free hit, isn't it?
Just keep up for down sort of thing.
Aye, I mean, you're going to see a benefit. I like when players like this Not so much. I think there's some of them are a bit cute and coy when they do it, but I think it's different with him. But I think it's a no-brainer move. Kev mentioned last week about how he's making some moves, and lo and behold, he pulls the covers back, and it's one of his old favourites. So I think it's all right.
Do you think it's a leader as well that's been crying out for it? I don't know how much Hurts actually has the locker room. You know, there's always reports of him and like AJ Brown don't exactly get on and stuff. I think over the years they've kind of chipped away at they've lost quite a few leaders. You know, obviously Big Kelsey and everything going, and you know, do you think that can play a big part, Kev, of actually bringing him back in and on the road to back-to-back Super Bowls?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously, he was one of a few defenders that we lost at the end of last season. That's always the worry. Big Play Slay moved on as well, and you're like, you've still got continuity with the coordinator there. You're expecting the defence just to roll on, but it's just not been quite at it this year. And I think, like you say, bringing somebody back who was there last season, who's been there both times the franchise has won a Super Bowl, I think it can only be good for the younger players, the draft picks that have come in, to learn for him, to have him around the building. So, yeah, just all round, it's a no-brainer for me. I think, like I said, it comes down to whether or not he's physically ready or can physically get back to where he needs to be. But I don't think he would have made the decision to sign again if he didn't feel that he was. So it's just a question of waiting and seeing in it.
That's it. Moving on, next topic I've got here, I don't know if you've seen this. Dre Greenlaw, Broncos linebacker, suspended for a game. You've just watched your team pull off one of the most magic comebacks, which we'll touch on in a wee bit more detail very soon. And what do you decide to do? Go and try and threaten? Was it threaten a ref?
Threaten a referee. Yeah.
I don't know how would you stand this one, right? So he's got a 1-game suspension. He tried to appeal it. It was upheld, so he's going to miss the next game. How much is the ref in the wrong here? I don't know if you've seen the build-up to it, but the ref actually shoves. So, obviously setting up, game-winning field goal, Lutz scores it, massive comeback in the fourth quarter, which again we'll touch on. Everybody goes a bit mental, celebrating as you would do. The ref is in the middle of it and decides to almost shove one of the other Broncos players sort of out the way. Greenlaw sees this, goes a bit ape shit, runs after him, and starts threatening him, apparently. The only way I'm kind of bringing this up, right, is just that for the amount that the ref touched the other Broncos player, was it any more than Gannon did to your man's how it dropped the touchdown and the thing? And he got $100,000 fine. That's all I'm saying. You compare like for like. Should they be putting his hands on a player?
The mental thing is, right, he's experienced. It's the proverbial for me, head's gone, right? Why is he doing it? Right?
No.
Go and celebrate. What his first instinct in that moment when they've just won is to go and berate the ref. And you say to yourself, you're just back, you've just played in a decent game, you've steadied the ship slightly for the Broncos, and you've got a decent slate of games coming up and an important one coming up. And anything you do to refs is going to impact you. It's absolutely mental. It's a bit like Stephen Robinson going mental at the refs in the weekend in Paisley when they were completely correct decisions. But we'll not talk about that on this podcast. But I just don't get it. I don't get when players do this, because the coaches must be sitting there going, and there'll be coaches that never even seen it, and then they'll be going, what? And it's, we all know that some of the refs in the NFL are a little bit trippy and power hungry, etc., and like to be the centre of the show. You're just giving them an opportunity there, and I think it's just a bit daft from the player.
Denke was raging though. Denke just had the Giants on his cootum or something like that, and just pissed off at the end. Because I was the opposite. I had an 11-team accumulator come up on that win alone, so I was delighted. That was a couple of £100 in my back pocket.
Nice.
Yeah. Next topic is the never-ending saga and drama docu-series, which could be the New York Jets. They have benched Justin Fields, Tyrod Taylor, or Tyrod, whatever he's sort of how you pronounce it, it's changed over the
Tyrod.
years. Is now got to come in and start at quarterback. But it also comes in the back of Woody Johnson's comments, which seemed a wee bit out of sort from him. Obviously, the Jets owner comments were, it's hard when you have a quarterback with a rating that he's got. I mean, he has ability, but something just not jiving. I mean, you have to play consistent position. And I get it, but you know, what? It just seems a bit of shit thing to do. A lad just throw him straight under the bus.
You got to remember the Jets drafted Zach Wilson. They've drafted all these other ones. So really, with a pinch of salt, Woody Johnson's comments in it, it's like, I think it's a bit. Justin Fields has actually just come out and said that he's entitled to his opinion. So if he wants to say it, then it's fine. So more power to Justin Fields. I actually think he's on a bit of a losing battle at the Jets, and anybody's seen that viral.
He's got 30 million guaranteed reasons why he's just sitting back there going, is that right? You're paying me 30 million and you think I'm a banger? You know, it's like, who's getting the last laugh now? But again, so essentially the context of the comments was about backing Aaron Glenn, saying that it's not his fault. You know, he's doing what he's doing. You can only kind of piss with the dick you've got. And that problem is Justin Fields. I just thought it was a bit crass and a bit out of sorts, but then that's what these billionaires doing. It doesn't really care much. It's just a pawn. This is a franchise that drafted Darnold, who's absolutely written up the NFL, and they couldn't do anything with future Hall of Famer Aaron Rodgers. Couldn't do anything with him. You know, what chance does Fields got? Sometimes it's just the franchise is stinking.
The thing I would say, and I wonder what, Kev, your thoughts on this are, right? Do you think it's? I know he said it to try and help Aaron Glenn, but do you think that helps Aaron Glenn, or do you think that hinders him? Because for me, I'm like, you've just put the head coach in a position now where they're going to ask questions about this, and it's probably the last thing Aaron Glenn wants to be doing. He wants to be strutting down the sideline, doing his dances and stuff. But it's like, what do you think, Kev? Because I think that's.
I think you're right. I mean, at the end of the day, after he's come out and said that about Fields, he's kind of got no choice but to drop Fields. And you know what he really wants to be doing is trying to get the best out of Fields. But it's kind of undermining him, I think. And like you say, the comments don't make sense either, because when you look at all the quarterbacks that have been there over the past few years, none of them have been a success. Some of them have been, good elsewhere. So what does that say? The Jets just aren't able to get the best out of them. And I think that, really, it's a tough one, because they have got some decent weapons. They've got good players on offense. You would expect them to be better than they are, but I don't think you can lay the blame all in Justin Fields. I think that there's obviously something to do with the coaching, the play calling, that's just not right for the guys that they've got on the team.
I don't know. I think it flows up the way, Woody Johnson been the biggest weapon at them all. But I don't know. Yeah, see, the thing is, I would say fair enough if Tyrod Taylor came in and absolutely ripped it up when he got his, I don't know, however long he got in that game at the weekend. He didn't even knock him in through 2 picks or something like that. He'd a lower passer ratings if he just threw it in the gun every pass. So it's like, you've just shit in this lad, but you've just put in Tyrod Taylor, who shot the bed completely as well. What happens when he goes out and throws 3 pick sixes next week or something like that?
Yeah, exactly.
Who you come to? Justin Fields, who now doesn't care. He's like, whatever. I'm not going to be here next year regardless. So what? I just think it's ill-timed.
Do you think that upsets more than him? Like, because obviously they've spent a lot of time. I actually think Fields is a serviceable QB in the league. I think the Steelers underused him last year because they had big G-man like Wilson, didn't they? So it's like, but I think he could be used in the right scheme. I think I did see a clip. I didn't really watch the game, but I did see a clip where he went for a slide and got absolutely leathered early on.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh,
that was a nasty hit. That was a nasty hit.
Aye, it kicked off a wee bit after that, didn't it? But I mean, I think it has more potential. Like I love Tyrone Taylor as well. Like, I think he's a great journeyman QB that you can bring in. But your Garrett Wilsons and all your players, your Breece Hall. I mean, we'll probably touch on it with trades later. But all these guys are up on the block just now because they're not really getting used the way they should be getting used, which is I feel sorry for the young Jets.
Goes for Fields as well, though. They're not using his legs as much as you would expect either. And maybe after taking that hit, he didn't want to run anymore. But I just feel like none of the guys on that offense are getting used the way they should be.
Oh, we'll see what happens there, though. It's never know. It could be an first 0-17 season coming up for the Jets. Let's hope so. Anyway, I'll leave my own thoughts out that. Right, last on the news is, and I had to put this one in because I obviously loved it. It kind of kicked off last night. I didn't sleep very well last night, so I was up messing about. And I don't know if you saw, Russell Wilson had a massive pop back at Sean Payton. So again, he set this up. Sean Payton done his press conference, and he kind of said that he'd hoped that the Giants would have held off making their quarterback change until long after they played the Broncos. Russell Wilson took this personally. Obviously, he was a former Bronco. Get released, let go, end up in the Giants. And he tweeted or X'd, I don't know what they call it. What is it? I don't know. Tweeted. Classless, but not surprised. Didn't realise you're still bounty hunting 15 plus years later through the media. Ouch. And then he had the hashtag away, let's ride. That was class. It's no like Russell Wilson to snap like that. Usually he's a God-loving man who's, be kind to yourself and your neighbours and all that sort of stuff. So must have seriously pissed off Russell with the comments. To be honest, I just liked it. I don't know if there's too much else to put in there other than... Anybody get any other thoughts on that other than the fact that, I'm happy to bring up the Sean Payton's history and Bountygate, I think, whatever it is, 13 years later.
Is it no just like... What again, it goes back to like Dre Greenlaw. I'm like, what are you gaining by making the comments? It's like, you're actually just making you sound like you're exes that have split with each other, and you're like that old meme, what's he doing type thing. And it's I don't get it in the sense that Russell Wilson's obviously went right, fair enough, but Sean Payton even put in the sly kind of dig in, and you're like,
well, that's what I'd get with the Woody Johnson thing as well. It's like, what's the need for the sort of passive aggressive? Look, why do you need to put somebody down to bring somebody up? Like, not just say Jackson Dart. He looks like a real talent and a future of the league. That's all they to say, rather than belittling Russell Wilson at the same time. Same with Woody Johnson. Just say, well, actually, yeah, Aaron Glenn's doing fine. We'll see what happens with Tyrod Taylor at quarterback. What's the need to put down to bring somebody else up?
One of my good mates, Mr. Randall, who, if he's watching or listening, you'll know this. We were talking about stuff this week, and he actually said to me, blowing someone else's candle out doesn't make yours shine any brighter.
Love it.
And that's exactly what's happening here. So
we can get that in the Grid Irn-Cru t-shirt, maybe a poster as well. We'll speak to Keith and get them out there. We'll get some merch soon. Right, that's my version of the news for the week. As you can tell, no injuries, nothing like that. It's all good gossip and scandal. That's what I love it. As soon as I finish here,
we were quite factual last week, Kev, compared to Danny's just soapist column, isn't it?
That's it. Because I've got all this maths to catch up on, so I'm just getting set up for the drama. I love the bitchiness. Right, let's go and recap. Right, I think we've done enough of that. Let's recap last week. So week 7 was done. We're looking at a few of our favourite games of the week. Mikey, if you don't mind, I'm going to start with you, mate. Since we've just spoken about it, kind of length and touched on in great detail. Giants, Broncos, one for the ages. Giants 32, Broncos 33. As I said, it's up to you. Go take it away, but this was absolute drama, mate, wasn't
And when I seen this on the show notes, I was like, are you talking about, is it, you giving it to the Ravens fan about losing double-digit leads and all that because we're the experts in it? Is that why you gave it to me to talk about it? But I think there was so much hype last week. Kev and I spoke about it with the Giants and them beating the Eagles, and can they go out and put a statement? And yeah, for the good part of three quarters, we were sitting going, man, they've turned the corner. They were so far ahead, but yet they still, I don't know, there was something when I was watching it. I actually texted our main UK Ravens group chat and said, I think the Broncos are winning this. And it swung back and forth a couple of times, right? But it was just such a momentum shift. And I mean, I joke about the Ravens and the losing double-digit leads. We were 99.1% to beat the Bills in week one, and we lost. The Giants at one point were 98.9% probability to win when they were 26-8 up with 10 minutes left in the fourth. And you would have said, all right, but what have we said all along? And every week we talk about that. What changes games in the NFL? Momentum, right? Turnovers, belief. And actually, I have a bit of a criticism for as good as Jackson Dart is allegedly going to be, and as good as Scatterbo is, and how good they've been, their defense and their play calling went conservative. Now, if ever you say that Brian Daboll's ever been conservative, I don't think I've ever said that, because he's always he's like up there with Dan Campbell and said in place of going for it. But they did. They thought they were that far ahead, and it was a wild turn of events. As a viewer, it was unbelievable. I think I've maybe still seen enough for the Giants to think, right, okay, maybe that win against the Eagles, they're all right, but their frailties got exposed. I mean, a couple of the linebackers, Brian Burns, the edge rusher, and then obviously Bobby Okereke came out and said, see, when you get 16, 17 plays against you and you're on the field for 10 minutes as a defense, no team's going to enjoy that, and it drains the players mentally. And credit to Bo Nix, because he's stepped up, carried on. I mean, he's a couple of questions in certain games, but he's definitely shown like he's the better one out of him and Jaden Daniels. Like we had that debate last year. I just thought it was a great game. It was a great advert for.
Wait, did you say he's better than Jaden Daniels?
I think Bo Nix. I said last year, I think Bo Nix is better than Jaden Daniels. So
that's quite a statement. We should get that up. We should get a poll up. I don't know if Smudger, if you're listening, put a poll up in Instagram.
I'll ask the Insta chat just now and see if anybody agrees. Right, who's better, Bo Nix or Jaden Daniels?
Let's get it done. Sorry, I did derail you a wee bit of that game, but honestly, it was absolute cinema when Kev just unreal. 33 fourth quarter points to bring it back, snatch it then by Willott's field goal. Irish kicker for the Giants. he didn't last too long, did he?
That was unreal. To think that, you know, they get the score. If he gets the extra point, you know, then if they concede a field goal and it goes to overtime, for him to miss that and give them the opportunity to get the field goal to win the game after coming all that way back and then losing points. It was insane. I can't remember who it was that somebody put a message into our group chat, and it said something like at the start of the fourth quarter they were whatever behind, and they still had time to come all the way back, take the lead, lose the lead, and then kick a game winner. It was just like unbelievable. But I don't know if I said it last week, and it might be controversial because he's getting all the plaudits right now, but I'm still not convinced with Jackson Dart. I still, you know, that pick that he throwed, you know, you've got such a big lead. They put points on the board. You've got to protect the ball. He chucks a pick six, and then that just gives them all the momentum that you're talking about, Mikey, to get, you know, and gives them the belief that they can still get back into this game. And he's been, he's made a few mistakes like that. I think there was 2 or 3 picks a couple of weeks back as well. So it's just, I don't know if he's maybe just a little bit early for him still. But if they're happy to let him,
that's just a rookie with big balls. That's it.
If they're happy to let him, learn for those mistakes while he's playing as a starter, then fair enough. But I think that's a dodgy call, because if it happens too often, then a lot of that confidence could soon disappear.
Yeah. Well, sorry, Mikey.
I was just going to wait to say, it's like Kev mentioned it there. It's the fact that the Broncos came steaming back, got the lead, and lost the lead. And I mean, we're talking about the 1 extra point he missed. The kicker missed 2 extra points in the game, right? Yeah. Which is. I mean,
and then there was a failed 2-point attempt as well.
Yeah. So
bring it back up
again. That's why I bring it back to the play column, because the Broncos needed the turnovers, needed that, right? And I think in one of their possessions, they went 2 yards on one of the possessions, because the Broncos just sent pressure. Now, if the Giants had played around that and got it, and they were trying to play the clock, right? Instead of, I slightly hate this in the NFL when teams play so well for so long, and then we do it with Derrick Henry. Run, and then we go, oh, we're all right, and we stop doing what you're good at, right? And then when a team then goes, hold on a minute, we've got a chance here, and it's the old, you're telling me there's a chance? It's like they smell it, and then they go on the sideline, they get a second breath, and all that, and that's what happened with the Broncos, because they started getting pressure where they never got pressure before, and then all of a sudden we're like, if they'd have been beat over the top and deep, they went, well, at least we tried. But because they got success and they turned that momentum, and then you see a kick miss, and you're like, hold on a minute, the belief just goes out of one team and goes into the other. It was brilliant viewing.
And that's it, though. But sometimes it's just the way it rolls. Because look at that final drive, right, to set up the field goal. I forget who actually made the catch in the end, but I think it was actually the pass that set up the field goal.
It was Harvey, wasn't it? It was Harvey.
It was to Harvey. It wasn't even meant for him. It was meant for Sutton. I think they completely missed him, overthrew him, and had to just last right in the bloody numbers of Harvey. It's just sometimes it just goes like that, doesn't it, for you?
And that happened. I mentioned that happened against the Bills for us. Josh Allen had a ball that got tipped, and then Keon Coleman caught it in the end zone, and you just went, right. Sorry about that.
Most said somebody spoke in your household for a while, mate. No. Why don't we'll move on, right? Because although it was a fantastic game, definitely one for the ages. But no, I think both teams can be relatively happy at the end of that one, just getting it off. I think Giants are seeing signs there. They've actually got a really strong team. They're progressing still early in the season for Scabo and Jackson Dart, and I'm pretty sure they'll be confident they can go from strength to strength. And the Broncos are just hanging in there, keep going, keep up, racking up the wins, stay in contention in the AFC and the AFC West. So, but moving on, Kev, other game I wanted to come your way, and I know this is one you paid close attention to, the Philadelphia Eagles 28 versus the Minnesota Vikings 22. Take it away. What did you see, mate? What did you like about it?
Oh, there was a lot I liked about that game, Danny. First thing was the defense. They played a lot better than they have in previous weeks. They, were back to their bent, don't break, Fangio best. I think early on we got a touchdown. You want to, you want to see how the Vikings respond. They get to the red zone, and we make them kick the 3 points, and that was kind of a theme. We then the defense got a pick 6, and again forced the Vikings to kick on the next drive. In fact, I think the Vikings in four trips to the red zone only scored 1 touchdown, which so far this season, when the Vikings go to the red zone, more often than not they get a touchdown. So to limit them to 1 touchdown out of 4 red zone trips was amazing. And then,
I'm actually so surprised you started there. Given the headlines of this game, I was like, I know exactly where Kev's going with this one. Was that the teaser? Was that the foreplay right there before,
Yeah, well, then obviously on the other side of the ball, you've got Jalen Hurts chucking the ball. What did he put up? 320 odd or 380 odd yards?
323 or something, wasn't it? 323.
Yeah. Through the air. So, shutting a lot of critics up there with that performance against a good pass defence. So we kind of went up against our strength there. I think a lot of teams this season have been trying to stack the box, stop Saquon running all over them like he did last year. And I think that the offense is starting to click. But we can win always. So yeah, that was beautiful to watch. AJ Brown outstanding, Devontae Smith outstanding. Just a great team effort.
right.
So
Sorry, mate. Just to get in, because I'm curious to why. Well, okay, Jalen Hurts just threw a perfect passer rating. I think he had 100 whatever it is, 50 odds or whatever. I can never remember all that. But he was really good at why. Why is it taking to week 7 before that happened? I know there was sort of like quarters here and there or halves here and there of games where he was kind of doing it, and then they get away from it. Why? Why is this now? Because AJ Brown in this game, what I seen, was just like, I'm better than you, I'm faster than you, and I am going to just do you here. And he would just run past everybody, catch the ball, and he was just like, oh, is that a cheat code? Just go and do that every week, because let's face it, AJ Brown is better than majority of the players in the league.
I'm sure I said it a few weeks ago. AJ Brown is like an absolute elite wide receiver. We don't throw the ball to him enough. But I suppose last season, particularly, when your running game's working that well, then you're just going to keep going with that. This season, I mean, the Super Bowl, we chucked it a hell of a lot more than we did throughout the majority of last season. I just think that, most weeks we'll go to whatever's working best, and certainly this weekend, we're getting a lot of joy in the air. I know what you mean, Danny. The last couple of weeks we've not been getting much joy with the running game, and why did we not do that? But I think against the Broncos we kind of did. There was a lot more passes to Brown against the Broncos when we lost. And he's so physical as well. It's not just running away from people. Like, he can take it, with contact. And it was just great to see. Like I say, that the offense is developing nicely. I think also, just going back to this game, I think it was really big game for both teams. So for ourselves, after losing 2 in the bounce, you don't want to hit that slide and keep it going any longer. So it was great to get back to winning ways. I think the way that the whole league's gone this year, everybody seems to be bunching up. So I think it's important to try and pick up wins right now to try and get yourself out ahead of the pack. And obviously the Vikings are going to be there or thereabouts. You'd feel for the playoffs as well. So to put a bit of distance between us and them was good.
Beautifully set up there, Kev. Mikey, what do you think of the Vikings? What's going on at quarterback? Do they stick with Wentz? Do they go back to JJ McCarthy? Was he benched, essentially? Or was he actually injured?
Well, McCarthy's injured, and they've just announced that Wentz is starting. So
but there's some rumours in the league, though, that he's maybe not that injured, and that it's maybe just a bit of a soft benching. Allegedly. But how long can they continue with Carson Wentz at quarterback?
Listen, we're going to the difference at the weekend, right? And this is my opinion with this game. The difference at the weekend was, as a guy who was regretting benching Stafford for 15 minutes to go in his fantasy, and he throws 5, I was like, I really hope that Hurts has a decent game, and he comes out and does that, which I didn't think he was going to do. I was like, oh well, it's not as bad a loss. Like, and the Vikings defense held up on the run. I mean, the which is a massive positive. You take it from that because it's you've got less than 50 total net yards that they had, if you include the -10 for Jalen Hurts. But that's a positive. But you're not going to be successful in the league if you don't have a consistent quarterback. The Eagles did. They've got Hurts. They know their identity. The fact that Hurts threw for 180 yards to Smith and then 120 odd to Brown, whereas on the opposite side, I mean, these are still decent numbers for the Vikings. Addison had 128 on 9 catches. Jefferson had 79 on 5 catches, so they're still getting yardage there for their receivers, and their tight ends were all right as well. But 26 for 42 for Carson Wentz in terms of completion with 2 interceptions. The difference is the turnovers. I mentioned it before, momentum. The turnovers for Wentz is just ill-advised, and that goes with the confidence where you're starting QB. And I think the Vikings have thought they would be better because I actually quite like their tools they've got. Their defense swarms to the ball. They're quite good. And like I said, they stopped the run pretty well at the weekend, but the run tended not to be the game plan for the Eagles. But it's a weird one because, I mean, we should maybe ask our resident Vikings fan how they feel about not having their QB, because it's like, it's a weird one, isn't it? Because they're 3-3.
You could say they had their QB. They had him last year. The boys absolutely written it up now in the Pacific Northwest. Darnold. Is there regret now of letting him walk?
If it's me, 100% there would be regret. I mean, Darnold was hands down a shining light for the Vikings last year, and there would have been nothing wrong with then having JJ McCarthy sit behind Darnold and learn, and then when it eventually, then okay, right? Because he's on a rookie deal, and the clamour to throw QBs in, rookie QBs in nowadays is mental. And you look at the timing often works out right. I think they've tried to jump too quick, and obviously now it's kind of backfired with the fact that they've got Wentz. He is serviceable.
But he's serviceable for a half. You maybe want him for one game. You don't want him for multiple games. And if you've not got faith in your quarterback, then you don't want him for a season, particularly in a division like the NFC North.
It sets a tone, though, doesn't it? Because your whole line gets set for the QB they're wanting to play for. And if they've got a JJ McCarthy, but then you're getting Wentz in, it's like you just backup QBs are backup QBs for a reason. Let's put it out there, right? It's not often, and there's a couple of outliers, Darnold and our superstar down in Tampa, that they can go and fit and elevate themselves into proper starting QBs. Like, so I would be worried for the Vikings at 3-3, and like you said, a tough division, and I'm not really sure what their fixtures are coming up. Well, I know one of their fixtures in a few weeks.
Well, that's it. So, what we'll do, let's put a pin in that one now, mate, right? Because we're about to, we will talk about the Vikings again in a few minutes. We'll just bar through another couple of these games. So the one I wanted to bring up, what I looked at was Steelers-Bengals, 33-31 to the Bengals. Who would have thunk it? Joe Flacco in there, still absolutely slinging it. I didn't stay up to watch this game. I just caught the highlights the next day. I was probably as surprised as anybody. I pretty much gave guarantees that was 100% a Steelers win, and there is just time to go to bed, while I was sitting singries and stuff like that abroad. And to wake up and see the Bengals putting up 33 points and Flacco absolutely slinging it. But not only that, establishing the run game as well. For what I could catch in the highlights, it was very much explosive plays, both sides of the ball. Rodgers is still out there, even in the Hail Mary in the final setting, still throwing it about 70 yards in the air. Just unbelievable for a 42-year-old. God, it was just the run back Brown, the lad for
Chase
Brown. Yeah. Where did he come from? He's always been a player, right? When it's kind of fancy. That's correct, I've always avoided like the plague. I've just like I just don't want it. I don't know. There's something about him I just don't fully trust. And then he just obviously went off and won in this game. And even like the play that kind of caught my eye was he looked about 5'6" compared to big DK Metcalf, the cornerback for the Bengals, who, you know, balls go up, looks like Metcalf's brought it in, and he managed to rip the ball out of Metcalf for an interception. It's just like, I don't know, is it the Joe Flacco effect that this team is now showing a bit of balls and a bit of grit and determination and some fight in there?
I'll tell you one thing, right? For years and years, the Bengals have been saying that Joe Burrow is Joe Cool, right? Joe Burrow cannot lace Joe Flacco's boots for being Joe Cool. I have said it on this many a times. Joe Flacco, when he's in a groove and he throws a spiral, is one of the best things you'll see.
He throws a lovely ball, doesn't he?
Right? The problem you'll have is that'll happen for 4 or 5 games, and then the wheels will come off, right? And bear in mind, the guy's 41. So when he's on good, he has a game like that. Now, that was the first game this season that I have not, the first slate of games that I haven't stayed up and watched. I went to bed exactly the same as you, thinking Steelers have got to win this. It gives the Bengals a bit of hope. I mean, it gives the players like, hold on a minute, we're sitting not too bad in the AFC North.
I called that a couple of weeks ago. I was saying, as long as they keep themselves in that fight.
The crazy thing about it is, if you're Joe Burrow sitting on the sideline, you'd be sitting going, how the heck is that O-line protecting him, but couldn't they protect me?
Does that say about Joe Cool?
So I just, and there is something about Flacco is cool and calm and all that and everything, and I think the players have taken to him, and I mean, like you just said there, his throws underneath, his throws just in the middle, and the deep balls to Higgins and Chase and stuff. It was a clinic, and to be fair, I was actually surprised at how poor the Steelers were defensively, because it's no like them.
But I'm not, because the Patriots ripped them apart. If it wasn't for us constantly fumbling and intercepting, giving it up, that game
a generalization for me. The Steelers looked great, and then they traded Fitzpatrick away, and I thought, why have they done that? They traded George Pickens away, and I was like, why have they done that? Because both of them have went and arguably have made the Steelers worse in their positions. I mean, defensively, there's a couple of ex-Ravens on the Steelers team, and Mr. Geno, I think it was Geno Stone. Was it Stone or Elliott? One of the guys, Elliott, maybe trying to make a tackle, and T. Higgins is just whoop and past him. It was. I
thought T. Higgins had a great game in this. Just talking about him, because I loved how the Bengals closed this game out. Now, I think there was about a minute 20 left in the game, and there's a deep ball over the top. T. Higgins catches it and could easily, by the looks of it, just run it in for a touchdown. Perfect. Instead, decks it, run out the clock, chip shot, field goal, walk off with the win. There's nothing worse than you want to do is give Aaron Rodgers another minute in the ball.
Well, it's interesting you said that, right? Because they done that, and T. Higgins done the smart play and downed it, right? See the Broncos game we just talked about. When the Broncos went ahead, Bo Nix, they got it down to there, and you thought, right, just run the clock and then do the chip shot and win the game. But Bo Nix, and then they scored, and you thought you've gave them too much time, and it's a thing across the league. We say that all the time. Obviously, it's no guarantee unless you're the Eagles on the one. You can't really guarantee a touchdown, can you? But I thought it was brilliant for the Bengals the way that Higgins done that, because he just good football IQ. He could have easily went in there, got a touchdown, got yardage, got bonuses and all that, but he was like, no, we're playing for the win here.
That was good. Kev, any final thoughts on this game for you, mate, before we move on?
No, I think I've covered it well. I actually did try and stay up and watch it, but I think I watched most of it with one eye open. So you talked about T having a good game. I think every time I started to nod off, the crowd shouting T was what woke me back up. So a surprise result all round.
Right, last game I just wanted to quickly touch on. It was a game I never got to watch, but it was the last London game of the year, done in Wembley, Jags' usual home game. The Rams decided to fly in on Saturday morning. A lot of people raised an eyebrow at that one, thought, oh, what kind of condition have they got to be in, as the Jags have been here all week. And it was an absolute slaughter. There's now a lot of people walking about London with some jaguar skin clothes on and boots and things, because 35-7, and to be honest, it wasn't even that close. Did you guys manage to... I listened to it in the radio. That's what I did in my drive up from Manchester. But did you guys watch it? What did you see? A show masterclass from Matty Stafford, was it? Mikey, did you watch it?
I'll go.
You go, Mikey.
It was weird because after the week before, they played the Ravens and beat us, and Puka was out, and there was questions on what they were going to do and how they were going to show up. The Rams, they stayed in Baltimore and trained on the Orioles, the baseball field, set it up as a football. They trained and acclimatized the East Coast, and then did the travel, which you're right normally gets frowned upon, but it seemed to work for them. They were kind of dialed in. They just had a much better game plan. Trevor Lawrence went back to scatty-brain Trevor Lawrence with some of his plays. It was wild. And 100%, it was 35-7, but it was going on 55-0 kind of thing. It was just that everything the Rams and Stafford done just worked, and the Jags just couldn't get going at all. And when they did, it tripped them back up. And even the touchdown they get as garbage time. But the only positive absolutely on that whole game for the Jags was the fact that Travis Hunter had a one-on-one with Devontae Adams and looked good, defended it really well. And actually they got him going slightly. It forced him into, right, the game's lost, let's use him to get some plays out of him. And it gave him a bit of a glimpse of why he was drafted so high, and like, oh, actually we could use him in this way. So positive, I would imagine, for the Jags would be that they utilise him going forward, because I feel like he's been a bit... They haven't used him for as high as a draft pick he is. It's a bit like the two plates spinning. It's like they don't know what one to go to with defence and offence. But it was a lesson for the Rams. And it actually just looked pretty easy for them. My mate who was at the game, who travelled down, and I normally go down to London games with, had texted me and said the only good thing about this game was Jackson DeVille jumping off the top of the roof.
That's fair.
And I was like, I mean, it's class, but
when the game's over at half time, it does put a bit of dampener on it. We've all been to these games in London. You know, some of them are good, entertaining, some of them are just blowouts and go to the bar and get pissed really in it after that. The one thing that, as I say, it caught my attention a lot during this game as I was driving up. It seemed to be the number of penalties. So I've just brought up my wee stat sheet here, and I'm not surprised to see that the Jacksonville Jaguars lead the league in the number of penalties that they've committed so far this year. 65 for 528 yards. They just constantly shooting themselves in the foot. It seemed to be any time they would get any sort of momentum or were starting, it was flag, not back another 5 yards, 10 yards.
See if you look at it, right, in the stats, look at the stat. Trevor Lawrence threw for nearly 300 yards, right? He got sacked 7 times, right? And 300 yards and only had 1 touchdown. Matthew Stafford had 5 touchdowns, and bonus point for anybody can guess how many yards he threw for without looking.
Well, I think I've heard that. I heard it in the radio, I think, so do I say it? Go
270?
182 yards, 5 touchdowns.
What?
He only threw 33 times, right? And he got 5 touchdowns. No sacks. He threw 33 times. He only had 21 completions. So less than basically every 4 times he passed, nearly, he scored a touchdown, which tells you the story of the Jacksonville turned the ball over in short fields, and they capitalised. Because when you then look at the Jags and go, actually, the Jags threw for 300 yards, had just shy of 100 yards rushing. It's just mental. It was one of the games that if you looked at a stat sheet, you'd be like, what?
Did Devin Lloyd go early in this game? Did I hear that in the car? I think which obviously got to play a massive part. But, when you're getting a short field, Matt Stafford and Devontae Adams, who absolutely loves ripping Jacksonville apart. I think this was like his 8th touchdown or something like that. I think he had 3 in this game or something. And this was like his 8th touchdown in total against Jacksonville. This game for me just flagged up what I've thought about Jacksonville. I don't trust them. They can go and beat Kansas one week and then go and get their absolute bloated bits off the Rams. Again, it's a team I don't take seriously.
The crazy thing about this is if they hadn't had the pass interference, I said this a few times, the pass interference call against the Bengals, they probably would have had another win in their column, right? The one that the refs kind of missed. And we would have been sitting going, all right, the Jacksonville are up there with like the Colts. But Kevin, I mentioned it last week, it's like, are they contenders or pretenders? This showed up for me that actually they're one of these teams that have been benefited by their schedule. They've got a long way to go to beat. The Rams look good, but the Rams haven't looked great in a lot of games. So it's interesting if the Jags going to have to play better teams. It's like we'll see how they get on, but good on the Rams because their strategy worked. They came over and kind of each shot and left kind of thing. It's like it's happy days for them.
Yeah, right. Let's move on. Time is getting on here. It's amazing how fast time goes. I don't know when we're having fun, but no, right. So we'll look ahead to next week. So next week games, just I'll do my public service announcement here. And just remember, their clocks are all going back. You're getting a wee extra on your bed, extra on your pub, however you choose to spend it. That's completely up to you. But games are kicking off at 5 o'clock Eastern Glasgow time. So just make sure you're not going to miss the first quarter in the games if you stagger in late. But so now that I've done that part, if we go to the games, so looking to the games ahead, I'm going to put a slant on it of now that we're 7 games in, we're almost getting to that sort of halfway point of the season. There was always an easier one when they actually had 18 games. We knew exactly what that was, but we're not getting towards the end. I'm looking at some of these games and I'm going, this is now becoming must win. When you start looking at the divisions and how the conferences are shaking out and some of the teams are starting to run away. So I'm going to go through some of these games and I'm going to pick out a team for them and who I think is a must win game. And I'd love to hear you guys' opinions on whether I'm talking absolute gibberish or not, or whether you actually agree with me if it is must win. So first up is the Thursday night game. And this one I'm actually saying is a double header, must win for both of these teams. Minnesota Vikings, LA Chargers. I am saying that this is a must win game for both of these, given the divisions that they're in, respectfully the NFC North and the AFC West. They're currently standing, just bear with me 1 second.
4-3 and 3-3, Vikings.
And yeah, 3-3. So hit me up, Mikey. Come on, I know you've got strong opinions in this one.
I am one of these guys. It's like we're on week 8. Can we really say it's must win? So I debate on that, and I get the premise of it. I feel like I'm a bit of a startle tonight, right? So apologies for anybody that doesn't like stats and just wants to hear us talk banter. But the probability percentages, if the Chargers win, they go up to 64% to make the playoffs. If they lose, they go to 45, and they're currently at 56. So they've got a 10% swing either way, but they're pretty much in the middle, the Chargers. So if they win or lose, still got a chance. The bigger onus is on the Vikings at 3-3, because if the Vikings are currently sitting at 19% to make the playoffs, if they win, they only go up 7% to 26. If they lose, they go down to 14. So if we want to say must win, it's probably must win for the Vikings if they have playoff aspirations. But they're currently sitting 12th in the kind of the power ranking or the wildcard rankings for the Vikings. Judging by the QB discussion we had earlier on the Vikings. I don't know. And the Chargers are obviously sitting in the playoff picture just now at 6 in their division. So they obviously have a hard division anyway. They both do. I think it's, if we want to label it as must-win, although I'm saying that I don't think there is must-win. I think it's probably the Vikings.
What do you think, Kevin? Am I talking just gibberish then on the Chargers here? As I say, they're sitting 4-3. I think they're second now in the AFC West, but right on their tail is Kansas City, who look, like they're just relentless now, and they're going to keep on going. Can you really see in Denver are 5-2 again, picking off the wins and might not look the most convincing? Do you really see 3 teams coming out of that division making the playoffs? This is why I'm kind of putting my slant on it, as I'm saying it's must win. They need to stay toe-to-toe with Kansas and Denver.
Yeah, I mean, I see where you're coming from. I think I get where Mikey's coming from as well. If one of those teams needs to win more, it's definitely going to be the Vikings. I said I felt that the game last week when we played the Vikings was huge for both teams. And I think, just like for us, it was important to snap that losing streak against the Vikings. I think the Vikings really need to try and get a win on the board. Being bottom of their division, 3-3. The only hope that they've got, I think, of getting to the playoffs is a wild card, which makes picking up wins mega important. But for the Chargers, again, I see where you're coming from, Danny. Like, it's a really tough division that they're in. They're going to be in the same boat. The fact that they've got that one more win on the board than the Chargers. The fact that they've got that one more win on the board than the Vikes, does mean that they can maybe afford to lose this one and still be in with a chance.
Right. So a wee prediction, and because we've got a few more of these games, so I'll kind of try and wrap them up. So give me a prediction. Who's going to win this game? Mikey, come on.
I think the Chargers will win, and I think from a schedule point of view, the Chiefs play the Bills in a couple of weeks. So if the Chargers win, they can get up there in their division. I mean, they don't play the Chiefs till week 15, so I think a Chargers win puts them in good stead because their schedule's quite. Let's just say after the Vikings, even if you class the Vikings, their schedule's quite light for the next 4 or 5 weeks, including a bye. So I think the Chargers win. And
Kev, quickly.
I think, just with the home field advantage, I'm gonna go for the Chargers.
Good man. Right, my next game, and again we'll try and barter through some of these. And this one might be a bit of a shock, but I'm saying the Bills versus the Panthers is a must-win game for the Bills. Not because I don't think they're not going to make the playoffs. This is more looking at the kind of when does it get into crisis mode for them. It's kind of Super Bowl or bust for the Bills. That's defined their season. If they get to the divisional and get knocked out, that's a disappointing season for them, given the pre-season hype over them. If they lose this game and they fall to 4-3 and the Patriots win and they're now 2 games ahead of them, they're likely having to go through Arrowhead again. This is why I'm saying I think this is must win. Now you think it's the Panthers and joke team. Well, actually they're on a bit of a run now. They're showing a bit of form. I think they're 4-3 right now. They're sitting second in the NFC South. Trickier game than you might take. Is this a must win game for the Bills to keep them in with a number 1 seed hunt? You know what I mean. I'm not going to repeat it.
I'm going to say it is a must win game for the Bills, but not so much to keep their selling with a shout of winning the division or to make the playoffs. Like you said, the franchise they want to be, they should be beating the Panthers. They should always be beating the Panthers. So, it's a must. Most games are must win for the Bills in my eyes. If they're going to be the team that they see themselves as. So, yeah, I'll go along with that one, Danny.
Mikey?
I think I'm a schedule guy. They play the Panthers away. They're at home to the Chiefs, away to the Dolphins, home to the Bucks, away to the Texans. Their schedule means if they don't win this weekend, they're chasing wins against some decent teams that they've got coming up who are hitting a bit of form. And I mean, they could play a division winner in week 15 against your guys. So a division decider, should I say. I think they need to win. I'd expect them to win because they've been on a bye and they should be coming back pretty refreshed and people back. So yeah, I would expect them. I'm not sure that them not winning, if they don't win, they're still got to get the playoffs for me. Do you know what I mean? It just, the route becomes harder.
Yeah. And I guess that was my point. So, Kev, are you going to agree with me? You know, if I'm put up a convincing case that this is must win, and
I'm agreeing with you.
And do you think they're going to?
Maybe for different reasons, but I'm agreeing with you.
Good man, that's fairly too. Right, okay, right. This next game, important, Mikey. I need you to keep it below 3 hours, okay? Is the Ravens versus the Bears a must-win game for the Ravens?
Have you seen where they are in the division? They're 1-5. They're sitting fourth. It's must win in the sense of exactly what Kev said last week about the Eagles. They need to snap their losing streak. They need to, right? They've lost 4 games on the bounce, essentially. They need to snap the losing streak. They're off the bye. They're typically very good after the bye. I would suggest that the Bears' status of where they're sitting is slightly elevated when you look at actually their wins and who they've played. But, I mean, toys are at the pram if they don't win, do you know what I mean? So, of all the fixtures you put up, Danny, I was like, the one that is must win for me is the Ravens against the Bears. I think if they were to lose, they play the Dolphins. Their next games are the Bears, the Dolphins, the Jets, the Vikings, right? And then they go into a Bengals game. I equally said last week, we could be sitting at the end of November and they're sitting 6-5, right? And you're going, oh, what? But you equally, if they don't win, the status on the players' attitude, the status on Harbaugh, and is he the right man to carry on and all that, just amplifies. So it would silence some people, but in terms of where their aspirations are and where they want to be, and in terms of being many people's Super Bowl favourites at the start of the season, they can't be going and losing at home to the Bears after a bye. And if they do, then there's got to be wholesale changes.
So I'm going with what you're saying here. Then you agree it's must win, and you think they will win.
Of the fixture list and it's only the 1-5 team that has aspirations of winning their division. So I'm like, is a must win for us. Everybody else is fine.
Kev, what do you think? Do you think the Bears are one? Do you think is must win for them, and do you think the Bears can cause an upset? Is an upset though? The Bears been 4-2 and sitting. You know, okay, they're third in the division, but you know they're what, a game or 2 behind. You know, it's
I think it depends who's healthy for the Ravens, whether it's an upset or not. But certainly for the Ravens, absolutely, it's a must win. That's why I was quite surprised when Mikey said at this early stage of the season, no game's a must win game for any. And I'm thinking, really, have you looked at your own team?
I mean, the thing is, though, if the Ravens lost, right, that would be 6 losses the season, right? Teams still get into the playoffs at 11-6.
Yeah.
So your probability goes down to you're not winning 10 games on the spin, right?
Yeah.
So your probability goes down. I mean, the Ravens have still got a 30%, and if you look at the bookies, they're still near enough odds on to win their division. So, which is mental at a 1-5 team. So you can see that argument, but go carry
I think
on.
those odds would tank. I think those odds would tank if you get beat off the Bears this week, though.
Yes.
So I think right now, you know, there's an argument that you could still win the division. I think if you lose this game, then I don't think there's going to be many takers, no matter what the price is. And the big thing for me that makes this a massive must-win game is your last game at home. The the commentators, whenever it flicked over there on Red Zone, they were saying like, this is not normal. Like the atmosphere was totally alien. So if you lose another game this week, then it seems like there's a lot of people just kind of giving up, and or there's a lot of anger that's coming out. So I think for that reason as well, it's must win this weekend.
The Ravens fans are generally, Danny, are generally quite like the Eagles fans are quite. And the last game, the stadium emptied, and their voices were heard. It was, as much as it been must win, it's actually the manner of the win, because Houston came and put 44 points on us, and it was embarrassing, right? And they played much better, and the defense were much more like a Ravens defense, apart from a couple of lapses against the Rams, but their offense never clicked. So if they stumble to a win this weekend and get across the line, there'll still be annoyance, because they'll be like, this is a team that was scoring they were in 3 games they scored over 100 odd points. They were like top scorers in the league, and all of a sudden the offense has disappeared. So the manner of the win is going to be key in getting that win.
Right. Well, we'll see what comes of that one. All right. I'm going to convince you, right? I'm going to last 2, right? I'm going to convince you these are must win as well. First one up, Houston versus the 49ers. I am saying this is must win for the Houston Texans. They're sitting 2-4 now in a very, I was going to say a poor AFC South. Obviously, the Colts are doing well. The rest of the team are a bit gibberish. This was a 10-win team last year. If they've got any hopes of reaching the playoffs again this year, is this a must-win game for the Houston Texans? Kev, you're nodding with me. I'm loving the sign of that. You tell me why.
Yeah, I think it is. Well, I think because the Colts are so hot right now, I don't think that the Texans are going to have much chance of winning that. I'm just glancing at the table there. I don't think they've got much chance of winning that division if they lose another couple of games over the next couple of weeks. So, for me, because of that, 2 wins out of 6. Yeah, they've got to start picking up wins quick. So I'm going to say, it's a must win.
And do you think they will win?
I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure. I mean, you would think so with the amount of injuries the Niners have got, but they just somehow managed to keep winning. He's got such a good schooling, hasn't he?
That's it. What about you, Mikey? How do you think? Is this must win, and will they win?
Well, I don't see them winning the following week. They'll maybe win the week after. They'll maybe win the week after because they've got 2 division games. But they then 49ers, Broncos, Jacksonville, Tennessee, and then Buffalo, and then the Colts, and then the Chiefs. So if they don't win, they're done. They might be as well see what trade capital they can get. So my question for is, if they've got any aspirations of being a decent team, which I think we thought they were going to be, I think they need to win. In your terms, I just can't see it. I think the 49ers, despite their injuries and that, they've gelled. They've got this sort of thing that they're still getting there. I mean, it's at Houston, so they could win it. The issue that I think I've got with the Texans is if they win this week, I don't see them winning next week. They'll maybe win the next couple of games, so they'd be one of the teams that's slightly got a record that's a bit deceiving. But we shall see.
We shall see. Right, the last one I want to talk about here is the Washington Commanders. They are playing the Kansas City Chiefs on, is it Sunday Night Football or Monday Night Football? Now, Washington, it's one of the primetime games anyway. And Washington are currently sitting 3-4. They've had injury issues. And I think it was just reporting along for on that looks like Daniels is going to be out and missing that game. Obviously, they're going up against Kansas. Don't need to talk about how good they are and the way they're rolling. And now, even given their sort of 4-3 record. is this again must win for the Washington Commanders, given the competition, particularly when you start looking at the NFC West, for example, and you've got 3 5-win teams there. It's not likely, 3 of them can make the playoffs through the wild card. You've then got the Lions and Green Bay in there, Vikings. You've got the Dallas Cowboys or scatty as well. So I'm putting it to you, my contention here is that if Washington have any hope whatsoever of making the playoffs, they need to start winning games, and it starts with this one in prime time against the Kansas City Chiefs. What says you, Mikey?
I'm going to say right now, I think the Washington Commanders will have a top 8 pick in next year's draft. I'll just say it there, right? Their schedule is horrendous. They need to win this to just get a win on the column if they want any win columns to get a lesser draft pick. They're missing key players, receiver, they're running back. If I was a Commanders fan, I'd be sitting going, it might be better us parking this season and banking some draft capital here, because, like I said, they've got the Chiefs, and say they did win it, right? Say they did win it, and it brings them to a slightly better record. They then play Seahawks, the Lions, then got a run of the Broncos, Vikings, Giants, Eagles, Cowboys, Eagles.
Ouch. It hurts, doesn't it? So, and again, that's what I'm going back to. They need to start getting wins on the board. They've already slipped, 4 games so far this year. Have they got any hope or aspirations of getting back to the conference championship game like they did last year?
I just don't see it, though, Danny, because I don't see it because the easier part of their schedule was the start of the season, and they've not done it.
Yep. They have not.
They've lost to. I mean, they've only beat the Raiders and they beat the Chargers. They were good against the Chargers, but they lost a close game to the Bears. They lost handily to the Cowboys and lost to the Falcons. It's just, I can't. I think it's one of them. It's a nothing fixture for me. I think Kansas have just got to trounce them because they're clicking just now.
I did put this one in here, obviously, before the news, when it was still 50-50 whether Daniel would actually be fit, and now he's rolled in, and I'm like, yeah, this could be a slaughter. But, it's a good talking point, essentially. We're trying to kind of put another spin on these games coming up, and rather than just
well, it seems us talking about the Browns nothing season being must win against the Patriots, doesn't it?
Well, we've got to try and polish the turd somewhere, But as I say, I guess with the Commanders, there was sort of a lot of hype about them, and the last year they were the darlings. But I guess just given the sort of how even and how, I don't know, how schizophrenic the sort of league is this year, when they say you've got Jacksonville getting destroyed by the Rams but beating the Chiefs, and you've got this all over the place is happening sort of constantly, where teams are losing one week and then destroying another team. You've got the Falcons getting blown out 30-0 and then going beating the Bills and stuff like that. Is there still an opportunity here, Kev, for like a Commanders to actually go on a run? And does it, maybe?
I mean, this weekend, yeah. I don't know. I feel as though if you asked me that last week, I would have said yeah, because I was feeling like it was a crazy topsy-turvy season where everybody's beating everybody and nobody's really getting out in front. I think that might just be starting to change. I think over the next 2 or 3 weeks, you're going to see some teams, stretching out their leads at the top of the divisions. And like you said, the amount of teams with 5 wins in the NFC right now, I don't think that they've got any chance. I'm the same as Mikey. I don't see the Commanders having any chance of making the playoffs, whether they win this weekend or not.
And are they going to win this weekend?
No, I think with Daniels out, I don't know if McLaurin's going to be back. I think their season's pretty much done.
They're sitting 13th out of 16th in the NFC, right?
Yeah.
If they win, they only got a 19% probability to get the playoff. If they lose, they're at 8%. Essentially, the teams
must win. See? It's must win for them.
the teams below them, they've basically said they've no chance of making the playoffs. They're at like 3%. So they're right on that precipice of they're done for the season.
I just feel I was ready to break out the Dumb and Dumber meme. So you're saying there's a chance. That's what I'm going for here. And I think
technically the Saints have a 1% chance of making the playoffs right now. So there's there you go. That was Broncos Giants material there.
Right, well, we'll wrap up this wee section here then. Just a very quick fire. I just want to know who is going to win. We'll start with a game close to you, 5 o'clock. New York Giants at the Philadelphia Eagles. That should be a divisional cracker. I'm surprised at how it's at that time, given the way things going. Kev, simply, who's going to win it?
Revenge game, we're going to win.
Mikey?
I think the Giants will be just still gutted for the weekend. I think the Eagles will win.
I think the Eagles win this, but I think it's a close game. Okay, next one we have Dallas at Denver at 8:25. I think that could be a cracker. To be honest, it could be a shootout. It could be picks. It could be God knows what could happen in that game. Quickly, Kev, again, who's going to win? Who's taking home the victory there?
I'm going to say Denver.
Ooh. Mikey?
I think Dallas wins it.
I think Dallas wins it as well.
I'll be honest. I think Dallas wins it. I just didn't want to say that.
The thing about it is, equally on the flip side to the whole Giants being sucked the loss, I think that took a lot out of the Broncos, and the Cowboys are just ticking. Dak is
slinging it.
They're looking good.
The thing is, the Broncos have done that now to 2 teams in our division. They've done it to us. They've done it to the Giants. And I think if Dallas get out to a big lead like that, the way Dak's thrown the ball this season, the way they're playing on offense, I know their defense has been shocking, but I think the way they're playing on offense, they won't be able to claw them back.
Right, last game, just quickly. Green Bay are at Pittsburgh Steelers. What's that? That's 20 past midnight on, so this must be the Sunday night game. Who's winning that one, Kev? Green Bay or Pittsburgh?
I'm going to say the Steelers.
Oh, Green Bay are 3.5 points favourites, just to give you
I know, but I watched a bit of Green Bay at the weekend there, and I don't know what it is, but it's just the eye test. I just didn't enjoy watching them. I wasn't that impressed.
I'm going to tell you, I predicted earlier in the season that Green Bay would be the NFC Super Bowl contender, right? But since I've said that, I've watched them nearly every week and went, they are rotten, right? and I kid you not, until 10 minutes ago, I didn't realise that they were the number 1 seed in the NFC. And I'm sitting going, I mean, Micah had his first 3-sack game at the weekend, and it was good and that, but there's just something about the Packers that I think it is the eye test, Kev. You look at them and you go, I mean, they're grinding out wins, do you know what I mean? And they're sitting where they are, but I think it's a little bit. It's like when Jacksonville were the top of the AFC a couple of seasons back, and you're like, no. But I think there's better teams in the NFC than them, so I'm definitely predicting that Green Bay beat the Steelers this weekend.
Nice. I like it. That one, to be honest, I was the same. I thought Green Bay looked horrendous against Jacoby Brissett, and Parsons obviously sealed it, 3 sacks, everyone wrapped him up. I fancy Pittsburgh, to be honest, at home. I think they'll end up winning it. So
it's the Rodgers against the Packers, isn't it? So the thing I would say is the Steelers, if Micah Parsons and all that, and they get to Aaron Rodgers, then I think we could see it's going to be a game. I'll watch it because I think it'll be a good game. I'm kind of for record and record sakes, I hope Rodgers doesn't win.
Agreed. Right, guys. Why don't we wrap up there? That's been a good hour 20. We've covered a lot of ground. It's been an absolute pleasure, Kev, Mikey, as always, to chat all things NFL related and others. You never know where we go off on a tangent at times.
Yep.
But no, it's been a pleasure, guys. Thanks very much for your time and for joining me tonight and getting me through this on the host chair. You make it easy, and everybody who's listening and joining in and all the other great stuff, thanks very much. Again, you can find Grid Irn-Cru on all the social stuff, TikTok and Bebo and Snapchat, Facebook and stuff. You'll find Kevin's Snapchat. Sorry, again, I've absolutely murdered your intros and your outros. I'll promise we'll work on it for future hosting events if I'm allowed back on that is. But no, thanks very much all for joining us, catch up with us on all our social stuff, and we'll see you next week to review what's going on in week 8. Thanks very much.
Yep. Thanks everybody, and much love, Scottish Ravens. Much on rent, yeah. That shouted in at the end. Cheers.
Cheers, guys.